There's a moment in life when you start to notice things you used to overlook. Not because you're trying to change, not because you're searching for anything, but because something inside you shifts on its own. It's quiet, it's subtle, but once it starts, you can't really ignore it. For me, it began on an ordinary day. Nothing dramatic happened. No crisis, no breakthrough. I just saw myself clearly for the first time in a long time. I caught myself moving through the same routines, saying the same things, reacting the same way, and suddenly it felt different. It felt like I wasn't fully inside my own life, like I'd been running on autopilot for years without realizing it. And that awareness alone was enough to make me stop, not to fix anything, not to overhaul my life, just to notice. It's strange when you start waking up. Your patterns don't immediately disappear, but you become aware that they exist. You notice how you brace yourself in certain situations, how you shrink your personality around certain people, how you push yourself past your limits because it's easier than admitting you have them. You see the ways you abandon your own needs just to feel accepted or to keep the peace. And it's not a judgment. It's not even sadness. It's more like finally hearing the truth of your own life. You start remembering moments where you felt tired but pretended you weren't. Times you said, "It's fine," when it wasn't. Times you kept going because stopping felt like failure. And you realize how much of your life has been shaped by old expectations, old fears, old roles you never questioned. Awakening doesn't come with answers. It comes with noticing. You notice the heaviness in your chest when you say yes to something you don't want. You notice the way your body tightens when you silence yourself. You notice how exhausted you feel after pretending to be okay for too long. You notice when you're performing instead of showing up honestly. And once you see these things, you can't unsee them. What surprised me most was that the beginning of waking up didn't feel powerful. It felt gentle, quiet, almost fragile, like the first few steps after you've been asleep, when your eyes adjust and your thoughts reconnect, and you realize you've missed so much simply because you weren't truly present. I found myself looking at my life differently, not with frustration, but with clarity. I started seeing the difference between who I really am and who I've been acting like. I saw how much I was carrying that wasn't mine. I saw how much of myself I had ignored in order to keep things functional, predictable, acceptable. It was the first time I admitted, even silently, that I'd been living a version of myself that didn't feel authentic anymore. When you start waking up, you begin noticing things that used to feel normal but no longer sit right. The conversations that drain you, the habits that numb you, the situations you tolerate because they're familiar, even if they're not healthy. You catch yourself responding in old ways and think, "Why am I doing this?" That single question marks the beginning of everything. You're not changing yet. You're just awake enough to know you could. And then there's the pull, that quiet pull towards something more. Not material success, not perfection, just more alignment, more honesty, more of yourself, and less of the performance. You start wanting your life to feel real again. You start wanting peace that doesn't come from avoiding conflict, but from standing in your truth. You might not know what comes next, and that's okay. Awakening doesn't rush you. It doesn't demand huge decisions or dramatic endings. It simply asks you to be present enough to see yourself clearly. One of the first things I realized was that I had spent years confusing strength with suppression, holding everything in, pushing through, pretending I didn't need rest or comfort or boundaries. Awakening isn't about becoming invincible. It's about recognizing where you've been breaking yourself down in the name of survival. It's about finally admitting, "I've been tired for a long time," or "I haven't been listening to myself," or "I deserve better than the version of life I settled for." You don't fix anything the moment you wake up. You just become aware. And awareness by itself starts shifting things, even when you're not trying. You speak up a little more. You pause before reacting. You catch yourself before old patterns run the show. You begin to feel moments of calm where there used to be chaos. Not because you forced it, but because you're not asleep anymore. You start to feel like you're returning to yourself, slowly, piece by piece. There's something meaningful about that stage, the beginning. The part where you're not fully transformed, but you're no longer disconnected either. You're somewhere in between, learning to see without rushing to solve. It's a tender place to be. Honest, raw, real. That's the moment awakening begins. When you stop running from your feelings. When you stop numbing your discomfort. When you stop pretending everything is fine just to avoid being the one who disrupts the room. When you finally tell yourself the truth, even if it's quiet, even if it's just in your mind, something shifts. You start trusting yourself again. You start hearing your own voice again. You start remembering what you actually want out of life instead of what you've been conditioned to settle for. And you realize that waking up isn't about changing the world around you. It's about coming back to yourself. It's seeing your own life clearly enough to say, this is where I am. This is who I've been. And something in me is ready for more. Not in a pressured way, not in a dramatic way, simply in a true way. You don't need to have the next steps figured out. You don't need to know your purpose. You don't need to transform overnight. You're waking up. That alone is enough. And once you begin, there's no going back to sleep, not fully. You've seen too much, felt too much, noticed too much. This is the beginning most people never talk about. The quiet rise, the subtle shift, the honest look inward. The day you realized you were becoming aware is the day everything started to change.